I just remember him coming into the lounge and he just started pouring his eyes out. I was just like blaming myself, like, you're the reason why your dad's like that. And like, he didn't even come out of his room, he didn't even talk to me.
Dust in space.
The hardest thing about being pregnant at 13? Telling your mum and dad. In many ways, 16-year-old Rhiarne Taiapa is a typical teenager, but then she's also exceptional. She's solo mother to 2-year-old son Braydon, and she's a brilliant young sports star.
And then, like, I remember this night when my dad came in and he was just like, he just stood there, gave me a big fright, and I was like, oh my God. And then like, he just came and cuddled me, and I was just like, I'm so sorry, Dad. And he was just like, we'll get through this. And that's when he started to just be like, I've got to get past this. And I think he knows that I was the daddy's girl, and he just thought it was his fault, like, but it wasn't his fault, it was my fault, like, I shouldn't have done that then, but I made this stupid mistake, and my mum and dad knew I was really scared, like, I was terrified, I didn't know what to do.
Welcome to Flying Solo, a series on what it takes to raise children on your own in New Zealand today. This is teen mum Rhiarne's story, hers and toddler Braydon's. So Rachel, the game's just started?
Just a local build-up before the Oceania.
Rachel is Rhiarne's mum, there for her in every sense. It's early Saturday morning at the squash courts in Palmerston North. Rhiarne, already ranked 218th in the world and number 6 in New Zealand juniors under-19s, is playing against best friend Caitlin Watts, currently ranked number 1. It's a tough match, but New Zealand's top squash players are a big family.
Yeah, they've been playing together since they were about 8 years old, so it's cool.
So it's kind of like the extended whanau here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So Braydon will come while you're having a match and watch you play?
Definitely knows when squash is on, yeah.
I've heard that there's a little wee squash racket that he's been given as well.
Yeah.
The Games takes most of the weekend, and then Rachel gets behind the wheel for the long drive back home to Hawke's Bay. He's already had dinner, eh?
Yeah.
It's past dinner time. The 3 preschoolers, Braydon and his 2 cousins Lakota, 4, and Khan, 2, are in their pyjamas, while Grandad, Rhiarne's dad Amish, sets out for fish and chips.
No, you're just going to be mad.
Contrary to what you might think, New Zealand's teen birth rate has dropped each year since 2008. As of 2016, it had halved, down to 16 births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19. So the stereotype of teenage solo mums doesn't hold water. Fish and chips for dinner? Yeah. Big weekend. You must be knackered already. Rhiarne was barely even a teenager when she got pregnant and is now raising 2-year-old Braydon. School tomorrow and mum's not going to let you off school. Yeah, something she couldn't do without her extended Taiapa Hurunui sports fanatic whanau. Yeah, of course, because the big tournament's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mum, Dad, Rhiarne's older sister Shaylee and fiancé TK and their 2 kids Lakota and Khan all live under the same roof, a large, warm, 4-bedroom home in the heart of Hastings.
I'm not talking about how wonderful your squash career has been. I think she's talking about, obviously, when you were pregnant when we went to Australia for the secondary schools. For the Trans-Tasman.
Rhiarne was 28 weeks when the whanau found out, almost by accident, at the doctor's visit. Under New Zealand law, unmarried mothers have primary right to custody, but what happens when both parents are minors? In Braydon's case, both his parents were 13 at the time, so grandparents Rachel and Amish became Braydon's legal guardians until Rhiarne turned 16. Things are good now, but getting to this place has been a nightmare.
Yeah, and just before the school holidays had started, my around the same time my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. So it was sort of like, I don't know whether it was just a different way that I was looking at things, and then and then just sort of looked and went, oh yes, and it was obviously, it came out that there was a possibility that could have been on the cards, and I was sort of like, oh, okay. And then we went to the doctor the next day, and he sort of confirmed it. And yeah, when thoughts started going a million miles an hour about what were we doing, what was going to happen, are we going to cope?
How was it for you, Rhiarne?
It was a shock to me. God, it was hard telling my mum. It was real hard telling my mum and dad, because I had such a huge career upon myself. And it's not like I've made it hard for myself, but I have. I couldn't change anything, couldn't do anything about it, so it was just too late. But my son is not a regret. So I just keep on telling myself it's not a mistake. And he's the only one who makes me happy. But even though it is hard, it's real hard. But I know I can do this. I know I'll be able to just do me. And be able to just stay happy and be myself and do me. No matter how much judgment I get, because I don't care. I don't care anymore. It's been hard, but we're all like doing this.
Hamish, it must have been incredibly shocking for you as well at the time.
I was devastated.
Yep.
Yeah, when I found out, I was devastated. I actually didn't know what to do. Because when I found out I had finished work, and Rachel come pick me up, and I thought I had done something wrong. She had something to tell me, and I thought, oh, what have I done? And then when she told me that Rhiarne was pregnant, he fell apart. Didn't think I could handle it. I wasn't worried about, her having I was worried about her having a baby, because, I'm a man. I don't know when you have a baby, I don't know how it feels, or
the effect on such a young
for
person.
her, being so young, I thought I was going to lose her,
So it was kind of terrifying as well.
Oh, yeah. It was lucky that we did have my mum and dad here, because we probably wouldn't have made it through by then.
Nah, they were real strong for us.
This is your parents, Rachel.
Without my mum and dad here, it would have been I'm not quite sure what would have happened really, because at the same time our older daughter was pregnant as well, so we were experiencing her pregnancy along with her as well, and then
But that was an expected baby.
Exactly. Yeah.
It wasn't a shock.
Exactly. It wasn't like, here's 12 weeks, prepare yourself to have not one, but 2 new grandchildren.
And they were born within
6 days.
6 days of each other.
Yeah.
And what happened for you? Rachel mentioned that you kind of shut yourself away out of shock. You kind of shut yourself away.
Yeah,
and
I just, would have taken me ages. I would have probably until actually Braydon come out. Once I seen that boy, that was it.
That was it. You fell in love with your grandson, and you were like, right, this is it. We're
Time to harden up.
Yeah.
Time to harden up. And now he's my boy. He's always with me.
Yeah.
Well,
he is, because we sort of, the three between me and Hamish and obviously Rhiarne's older sister, the three of us share like the dad role. So, Rhiarne's the mum, and then the three of us share the other half as the dad role while he's here. So, you can't not get a little bit more extra attached as if they lived somewhere else, or, there was a dad, a full-time dad in his life. So, I think at the start when people were saying that they weren't being judgmental, I think they were, but they were just saying they weren't, but it was pretty obvious that they were, or people just didn't have the, people would just hear in the background, or hear as rumours, etc. I think that's, but no one actually came round to ask or to say, oh my God, this is what we've heard. It's like everyone was, they just stayed away, but we didn't advertise the fact either. That was one thing that we weren't doing. She didn't leave the house for the last 12 weeks of the pregnancy. Only time she left the house was when we had to go to the hospital for obviously the midwife visits, but the only place, because she obviously didn't go to school for the last term, we decided that we weren't going to put her through the last term of school. It wouldn't be fair on anybody. A lot of people heard about it because obviously, when you're at a school, especially a girls' school, if no one comes back to school, there's that they're either sick or they're pregnant. And when people like her peers or her friends heard she wasn't coming back to school, no one came round for maybe a good 6 weeks or so.
To delete all social media.
Oh yeah, she went off social media altogether.
So I just couldn't bear all the questions, and I couldn't bear just people being like, it's not attacking me, but just
Gossiping.
questions after questions, people after people. I just didn't want to talk to anyone, and that's why I did lock myself in the room, because I just didn't want to talk to anyone. The only people I wanted to talk to was my mum, my dad, or my family.
Yeah. So it probably was the best thing to do at the time, was to just remove everything to do with social media, because it wasn't obviously just us that had to deal with it. It was obviously Braydon's dad's family that had to deal with it as well, and they dealt with it in their way, and we were dealing with it in our way. So, yeah. Then speaking to the school, obviously the school were amazing, because we didn't, this has never happened to either of us, so we didn't know whether they would allow or whether they'd want Rhiarne to come back to school. Being a young teenage mother, I didn't know. I'd never known anyone who was that young to have a child that was contemplating on going back to school. So when I spoke to Geraldine and Ms Greville, they were just obviously they were like, oh, wow, but not once did they ever say that she wasn't going to be welcome back to school, or that they wouldn't be there to support her or anything. So that was huge for us. That was huge, because Rhiarne said obviously she needed to go back to school.
Teenage pregnancies don't faze Geraldine Travers, former principal of Hastings Girls High School. It's all about fulfilling potential.
I well remember after the September holidays, actually, her mother coming to see me and asking whether she could meet me and the guidance counsellor at the same time. So she came and told us, and she just had this terrible shock because she'd discovered that her daughter was pregnant, which is quite a big thing for a mother to get her head around. And she was concerned about what the school's attitude would be. I think a lot of people have a kind of a fear thing back from perhaps the 60s or 70s, where they think that a school might shun a student, thinking it was bad for the reputation or what have you. But as I said to Rachel at the time, there are plenty of women whose bodies have let them down at various times. And we're just here to enable Rhiarne to carry on with her education, and having a baby at home really is no reason to stop what you need to do.
Now, she was a Year 9 student, which means she was 14 years old when she had her baby, Braydon.
Yes, she was, but she's got an extraordinarily supportive family. So she had an older sister who was at home with a young child who was willing to do the daycare herself. But the amazing thing is, as I said to both her parents, it's only a disaster if you let it be a disaster. If you let this stop you from doing the things that you ought to do and you should do, then that is a disaster. But if you carry on and you fulfil your potential, so it's my great pleasure to say that she got her NCA Level 1 last year. She became an A-grade squash player last year, and she carries on representing New Zealand.
Kia ora. I'm Aria.
Hi, nice to meet you, Aria.
You too.
You're a good mate of Rhiarne.
Yeah.
And do you get to see Rhiarne playing squash sometimes?
Yep. I came and watched
Awesome.
one of her tournaments. I was sitting there like videoing her,
Awesome.
taking photos.
Are you proud of her?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm like her number one. No, oh well, number two after her mum and her dad.
big time fan.
Yeah.
It was hard going back to school.
What was the first day like for you back at school?
Shocking. It was literally shocking because I think before school, that was when I was starting to tell people, because if I was to just go there without letting people know, I knew people were just going to come up to me and just
And it would be
act
too much.
fake and just be like, did you have this? And then they're going to go and gossip. I didn't want any fake people coming up to me. I just said, I didn't say, oh yeah, I had a baby on Facebook, and just I said it to the friends that I could trust, and that the people that I hang out with, they needed to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were shocked, but they knew that they had to help me, and they did. But you really need to know, or I really need to know, who my actual friends are. And these past couple of years, it's just been crazy, because when you turn 16, you want to go out and do partying and stuff like that, and that's what the girls just think about, and
It's not your life.
yeah, it can't be. I wanted it to be, and I hang out with my friends and dance and stuff, but it can't be, not until I'm ready and old. And that's why people call me the old person at school, because I'm more mature than everyone, more mature than half the year 12s and stuff like that. It's just crazy.
I think the experience you've been through has made you grow up really,
Yeah.
really fast. Yeah. But it takes two to make a baby. So what about Braydon's dad? How did he and his family take the news?
They had sort of heard some little inklings around the town as well that this may have been happening. So there was a phone call, and it was, yes, and we confirmed that, yes, we'd taken Rhiarne into the doctor, and it was confirmed. So at first it was, it was something that they, or that Braydon's dad had sort of denied straight away and said he hadn't had anything to do with the situation. And we were like, that's okay. Well, like I said, I've just got to let you know that that's what we've now have to decide, what we're needing to now handle with Rhiarne. So we're just needing to tell you, and how you deal with it is up to you, as you'll have to deal with it a lot differently than we would. And then later that day, we got the phone call to then say, yes, sorry, yes, our son has now said that he does have something to do with this situation. And
He acknowledges that he is the father.
that's right, yeah. And we'll just handle things our way and you handle it your way. I wasn't really concerned for them at that stage, maybe a bit selfish, but I had to be.
Yeah.
Because I was the one that sort of, we were the one dealing with the actual looking at this happening
And the reality of it.
on a daily basis, seeing Rhiarne's belly grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger on a daily basis, where they didn't have to look at that. They might have to deal with a sad or an unhappy son, but they weren't actually seeing the reality of it happening before their eyes like we were. And it was hard. It was hard for Rhiarne, especially when the denial of it all happened.
Yeah, it was hard. I was with him for 2 years.
Yeah.
So you were actually going out together, or you were...
We were very close.
And I know it's young,
Very
but I did fall in love with him.
Well, we were very close as families. When it happened, when the whole situation happened, my first thought was, if I had to go through it with a family, I'm so glad I'm going through it with them. That was my initial thought. Because we were so close as families, like that we were like mirror images. Like their son is a very successful sports player. Our daughter is a very successful sports player. We followed her around everywhere she went, and they did the same with their son. So we were like mirror image. And so when it happened and it all came out, I was just sort of like, well, if I had to go through it with a family, I'm really glad that I'm going to be able to go through it with them. So it just sort of didn't turn out the way that we'd hoped. We didn't.
As for other teenage solo mums, Rhiarne and her mum and dad say this to parents out there who may have a daughter in need.
And they may have their own, they may have their own conclusion as to why and what's happened, and that's completely their deal. But yeah, I think if the roles were reversed, they may look at things a lot differently to how they look at it now. I know in my heart of hearts, if I had the son, that there would be a lot more responsibility put on him. A lot more. And people say, oh, they're young. Yes, they are young. And they were two very clever kids that did a very dumb thing for being that age. But it happened. You had to deal with it. But, with becoming a parent, there's responsibilities. Yeah, that's where it just sort of cuts a little bit deep with me, is that, we all want to protect our children. We do. Gosh, we wanted to wrap Rhiarne up in cotton wool and run away, leave town, leave the country. We wanted to leave town, leave the country, run away, not tell anybody. But, you can't do that. So there's a fine line between protection and then manning up and taking some responsibility. And that's the thing that we think about, that I feel for the girls that, that do have the families that unfortunately, look at it as though it's
the greatest shame in the world,
or it's, you've shamed us, or you're embarrassing, or whatever. I feel for those girls because, it's not something that I would hope that they would plan to do at such a young age. But, we couldn't not, you're stumbling as a mother if you chose to turn your back on your own child for something that they've done. There was no way that we were going to do anything but, obviously, eventually, after a few weeks, come to the acceptance that this is what's happened, and how do we deal with it together?
Do I just want to be the mother that stays at home, or do I just want to be the mother that works hard for her career? And that was hard. And then I did it, whole 6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Got me thinking I am going to become a champion, I am going to become the best mother, I am going to finish school, I am going to do everything that I would want to do as a normal teenager, but I have a baby and I'm going to do it. And people do doubt on me. People say, no way, she's not going to do that, but I've done it.
A lot of doubters. Yeah. We said to them, we've had conversations with them, and we said, at the end of the day, we say, well, watch out, because she's going to come and get you. And look what she's done now. It's just amazing stuff, She's been the most improved player, and it's the most improved junior, which was unexpected for us, but it's the biggest award that you can get in New Zealand junior squash. And she won under 17s from that time. So, and she's just about, she's in the running for getting chosen into the World Championship team. So it's still big things for her, and she knows that Braydon will be alright. He'll be okay, because he's got all of us here. Plus his extended family that they're out there that love their boy. So everything's going to be okay now.
Ko Linda Chanwai Earl ho. And you've been listening to Flying Solo, engineered by Phil Benge. This was the final episode. A heartfelt thank you to all the families that shared their stories throughout the series. You can find all 6 episodes of Flying Solo on iTunes or check out our webpage rnz.co.nz/Flying Solo. Kia kaha, ka kite anō.